Today on DIY Gaming, we max out our boxing skills. Where you at, Mayweather? He's not going to see this, right? Welcome to DIY Gaming, your source for tips and walkthroughs for making your own prototype and playtesting components. I'm your host, Brian Beach, and today we'll be making the hollow prism that houses your game's components and protects it against the elements and weathering of life on a game shelf. The backbone of this project is the metamorphosis of a cheap, simple gift box into a durable fortress of solitude that would make your extraterrestrial parents proud. So let's get to work. Before fashioning our game boxes, we have to determine what size of box it is we're trying to make. And there's a couple of things to consider when determining this. Obviously, the box needs to be large enough to accommodate all of our gaming pieces, but we also need to consider the limitation of our construction material. If using a gift box like this one here, we need to make sure that the original length, width, and depth of the gift box is larger than the final box that it is we're trying to make. Also, if you're considering mailing or shipping these out after the project is over, maybe you're kickstarting, you'll want to look into shipping dimensions, as this can save you money on the back end of your project. Now, another thing to consider is the limitation, or at least the cost, of having your box art printed. The box that we're making today is for a prototype of Space Perimeter by our very own Shuck. And Shuck is a man of particular needs, specifically when it comes to the dimensions of his game, leading me to make an executive decision to have that artwork cropped, trimmed a little bit. Sorry, Shuck. But I was able to get it on a smaller sheet of paper that way, saved me a little bit of money, and since this was a prototype, didn't think that was a big deal. It won't affect the look of the outside of the box. I think it'll still be presentable, but it will change the polish on the inside edges, and you'll see that a little bit later. Something for you to consider when making your own game box. Now, on to the tutorial and the things that we'll need. Of course, you'll want to start by getting a large enough gift box. You'll also need our ever-present chipboard, stick glue, Scor tape, front and back of your box's artwork, a ruler, scissors, a knife, a pencil. As I mentioned, Shuck has some particular needs. He's requested that we make this box 6.5 inches long by 6.5 inches wide by 1.5 inches deep. I will now convert those measurements into millimeters, thus completing my happiness, and on to the project. We'll begin by taking the gift box and breaking the glue holding the corners. Since I have enough room to avoid these flapped corners, I'll cut these away, but under different circumstances, I might have used 2 of the existing folds to make one of my corners. To find the total measurement of what you'll need, measure the depth, length, and depth again. This will give you the total of your length side. For the width side, you'll measure the depth, width, and depth, cutting away the remaining area. Take a scoring tool or the dull edge of a kitchen knife and score the measurements that mark the depth lengths. You'll notice I had to use an existing fold for one edge of my box due to the size limit. If necessary, treat these existing creases as an already scored edge. When finished, you should have the length and width of your lid framed by the depth of the box all the way around. If your box has shorter and longer sides, cut along these scored lines on the shorter sides until your cut reaches the perpendicular scored line. Now fold along your scored lines, tucking the folded corners under their companion edges. Permanently affix these corners using the glue stick to make the bond. Optionally, you might use a strip of binding or scoring tape to reinforce the bond. Repeat these steps for the bottom of the box, altering the measurements so that the length and width are 4 or 5 millimeters less than the length and width of the lid. You may also want to add 1 millimeter to each depth measurement. Once you've completed both halves and looking snazzy, you should have a lid that fits over your component receptacle. So we've finished phase 1, but it's still not quite the durable box that we expect to last on our game shelf. To remedy this, we enter the chipboard. To reinforce your game abode, cut chipboard to line the inside of the box lid, the box base, and all the inside edges. Test the piece going on the underside of the lid and trim the edges as needed. Then glue and press. Repeat this process for the inside walls, one at a time, testing, trimming, gluing, and pressing. Of course, you'll duplicate this process for the base of the box. Give the glue some time to dry. As it does so, the reinforcement will harden into a worthy shelter. Now that we're in possession of a much more durable box, how do we turn this into this? Okay, let's begin the beautification process by cutting out our graphics. These were made using an online box template, website listed in the description below. Locate the appropriate box half with the corresponding graphic. We'll begin with the lid by taking the top graphic, center the lid, and mark its proper placement on the back. Apply glue to the entire area, marking the lid boundaries. Due to the semi-gloss finish of the box, I'm applying glue to the box as well to assist in the adhesion. Carefully apply the lid to the printout on a flat surface, and make sure you work out the bubbles before the glue dries. Before we wrap the sides, we'll locate the shorter edges and trim them flush with the side of the box if needed. In most templates, these will be the edges without the overlap flaps. Make sure the cutout of the corner reaches the corner of the box, snipping it further if needed. Add Scor tape along the outside edges to prepare the walls for wrapping. Begin with the flapped sides, designed to overlap the corners, usually the longer sides. Apply glue to paper and box alike. Carefully press the wrapping along the wall and around the corners. Remove the Scor tape wax and complete the wrap around the inside edge. Once these sides are complete, repeat the process for the shorter sides, being mindful of your finished edges. You will notice the inside finish of the wrap is not consistently covered. This was due to that cropping of the image I did to fit on a smaller sheet of paper. I did fix this on an alternate box by trimming the long edges for a more uniform look. Upon completion of the base of the box, tuck your game's components into their cozy new bed, made with love and glue. We hope the DIY series here on our Pub Meeple channel has been beneficial to you game designers out there, those of you making your own prototype and playtesting components. We're almost through the series as we initially mapped it out in the beginning, but we're not quite finished yet. We have at least one more project. Oh, and it's a text from Shuck. Let's see. New dimensions on Space Perimeter Game Box. Sorry for the arbitrary change, LOLOL. If you'll excuse me, we have an impromptu Pub Meeple meeting.